Okay, we're live. We're on the air. Coffee Talk. Everybody, welcome today. Welcome. I'm just trying to get a couple of you guys to hang with me today. So on Instagram, right here on my phone, if you guys are watching, come on over to Coffee Talk right now, live on YouTube. Hang with us. Write some comments out there. Let's go, talk with each other. And I hope you guys are doing good. But today we have a special story, questions unanswered. And somebody out there might know the answers. So Instagram, we're going right now to YouTube live, and we will see Instagram people later. Head on over there. Share that. Okay, everybody, welcome today. How's everybody doing? Debbie's here. I see Debbie. I see Donnell and Larry. Thanks for joining us today. It's very, very nice of you guys. The live chat is beginning right now, so give me a second. We just hook this up right here, and then later we'll edit it out for you YouTube people for later on. I hope you guys are having a good day. Today is we have a story. We have a family coming on, Bill and Mary Jane Jodry. Their son Thomas unfortunately passed away. The story, if you recall, we broadcast it a few months ago. Not a few months ago, quite a while ago, but we're going to talk about it again because there's questions, answers not answered. So maybe somebody out there knows something that can help this family out. It's all going to happen right now on Coffee Talk with ADIKA right now. Boom.
It's Coffee Talk with ADIKA. Nothing rhymes with that but chicken tikka. We name drop here with Stephen and all his friends.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. And thank you for spending your lunch hour with us wherever you're at. If you're Pacific Standard Time, if you're East Coast time, you're done with lunch, I'm assuming. So here's the deal. Today's story is a heavy one. It's about a 21-year-old boy, mysteriously was murdered. Was it an accident or was it murdered? These are questions that maybe somebody out there might have seen something, maybe could help these people that with their questions that they want to get solved. It happened September 14th, 2019 at 9:49 p.m. Now, San Luis Obispo, for you people out there that are not familiar with San Luis Obispo, it's Central Coast, California. It's a beautiful town. It's known for Cal Poly, college town. And this was a Saturday night in a college town area with people having fun. They're drinking, they're having a good time, good restaurants. It's a beautiful part of California. It's supposed to be the happiest place on earth. But that night, Tommy fell from the third floor on a street, actually Marsh Street. It was a parking structure across the street from Eureka Restaurant. And he fell. He was 21 years old. And the kid was just starting his life out. And we have his family here to talk about this and refresh your memory if you've seen this or if you didn't see this. We're going to talk about the story and to the current events to today. So let's welcome Bill and Mary Jane. Hi guys, how you doing?
Hi there. We're doing okay.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on the show again. And again, refresh my memory. Was it when was the last time that you guys were on here? It was more than a couple of months ago.
It was 7 months ago.
Like 7 months ago. I was going to say 6, but the story stays fresh in my brain, and it's a heavy story. And I've been following you, and I know up to what's going on now. But for the viewers that don't know the story, I kind of did a real rough draft of it and threw it out there really quick because San Luis Obispo is supposed to be the happiest place on earth. Oprah says and all that stuff. They say, right? Central Coast, supposed to be beautiful. Your son Thomas, 21 years old. It's born New Year's Eve, 1997, and musician, like the drawer artist, and like every other kid, they go through their things, but they're kids. And 21 is a young age, and he's born the same year as my son. So I feel very close to the situation. Thomas was just starting out doing like a cactus business. He was doing landscaping, and he was looking to on social media to try to create something. And and
that's right.
And then from that, and then please correct me at any time. And I'm trying just to give a quick, bring people familiar with the story. So here he is building his business, trying to get something together, having fun, enjoying it. It's his zen, the gardening, it's like art with cactuses, all that good stuff. He goes on Facebook and he, meets somebody, maybe could take some pictures and help him with his business. Correct? At that point.
Well, actually, Thomas met this man, but Thomas had actually photographed several hundred of his cactus, and he did a beautiful job. So Thomas did not need any help photographing.
Mm-hmm.
But it just so happened that this man, David Knight, was a photographer at one time or another in his life, and he came to Thomas's cactus garden and said to him, Thomas thought he was a customer coming to buy cactus.
Gotcha.
And he said, "Are you here to buy, do you like cactus?" And he goes, "No, not really, kind of, maybe, but actually what I really like is your photographs." And the reason we know this conversation took place, because I never knew of this man until that night. Thomas's friend was living here at the house with him. Thomas had started that cactus business when he was 12. And he sold a lot of cactus by a BMX bike. And then he kind of gave it up for a few years, and he went to go work in San Luis Obispo at Tennis Warehouse. And he liked to skateboard. And he had damaged his elbow skateboarding. And we had to go to Los Angeles to have a major reconstructive surgery that June, 3 months before he died. And the doctor told him it would be a 9-month recovery period. So he kept he started up the cactus business. He had done all these photographs in the meantime to make some money while he was on disability, to, add a little bit of income. And, that was one of his options. He was thinking of growing the business. He had actually gotten quite a few desks and put them in his room, and his room was a mess. He had new desks in there, and he was in the middle of creating files and creating his business, and he was also doing some graffiti art. He would take big poster boards and do graffiti art, and then he was going to make stencils of his graffiti art and then make more, reproduce them. And he was just in the infancy stage there. His other hobbies were skateboarding. He liked to golf. He was on the golf team for 4 years. He liked to kayak. He liked to whitewater raft. Mm-hmm. He was a high adventure kind of guy, mostly with Boy Scouts. And so it was safe, high adventure stuff that he did. He loved to hike. He loved to be outdoors. He loved to fish. And he loved, most of all, to travel. And every place we went, every continent we went to, he really enjoyed himself. He enjoyed especially Mexico, Spain, England, France. He enjoyed very much. He was a man about town. He could really talk to people. People could tell, that he was a young guy and had very high ideals, and he was just a young person.
Yeah, had a full life ahead of him.
He had this business going, and this guy came to us, and his friend automatically did not like David Knight. He said, that he told Tommy to be careful because his friend had been molested when he was a young kid, and he just didn't trust this man.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
There was rumors going on about this guy. There was stories about this guy. He's been involved, kind of looking, searching. He's a predator. Yeah. I would say the best word to say.
Yes. And since our last show, and we'll get into that a little later, we have proof of that. Mm-hmm. Major newspaper article came out about that.
Yeah, and that's why I brought you guys on here. I kind of want to since we're here and we have a little time together, it's just us talking, and I'm in no rush. The point of today's show is to get the message out there, and the point to everybody that's watching, if you know something and you're afraid to come forward, there's ways you could come forward without your name being revealed to help, just to help the puzzle of this mystery. Because here you have a gentleman, I'm not even gonna say a gentleman. You have this guy out there, and you have a predator out there. That's the correct word, I would say. And he's soliciting these underage boys Okay. Um, Now in Atascadero in Central Coast, California, David Knight he was a photographer and he had a studio, correct? And whatever we can talk about, I understand, and you could stop me. And there were stories before he met Thomas. There was some stories about him before that were out there, correct?
Yes, there were
Which
some stories out there. The major one is the one that the investigative reporter from the Telegram Tribune in San Luis Obispo found, and they found his conviction of
Mhm.
having lewd and lascivious conduct and molestation of a 13 to 15-year-old kid
Hmm.
for 2 years, between 13, the 2 years between he was 13 to 15.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
that conviction happened, and I think it was 2003, and his probationary period went on for about 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And then for everybody
And
watching there, wait one
it was
second,
a
Mary.
two-page article.
Wait, Mary
It was
Jane,
a
one
two-page
second,
article.
1 second. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think some people are getting they're getting an echo chamber. Maybe you just come a little closer to the speaker. And unfortunately, everybody watching, try to listen to the story and maybe not so much with the chat and try to really listen to this because there's a story here. And if you're going to be so obsessed, I really want you guys to be obsessed with the story and find help for these people right here. Thank you. And all right, I'll let you continue. And sorry about the interruption. I really want everybody to hear this. It's really important to me and to you guys. So let's start that from the beginning now. I'm sorry.
You want me to repeat it, or?
Yeah, if you can. I guess they were having a hard time hearing you out there.
Okay. So we have been looking for information. We've had a couple of previous victims come to us, and they have told us their stories. And then this investigative reporter uh, came, exposed a story about David Knight. He found out his prior conviction, and it was from 2003. He was convicted of lewd and lascivious conduct and molestation of a young boy, 13 to 15 years old.
Wow.
And he was convicted in felony conviction. And he was supposed to go on the, what did they call that?
He was actually put on the sex offender registry. He was on the sex offender registry,
Mm.
and he went to county jail for 3 months. And somehow or other, and this is an issue we're dealing with right now, after his probationary period, he was able to go to court and get himself removed from the registry. We're questioning whether that was done appropriately, and we're looking into that. And then later on, he was able to get his felony reduced to a misdemeanor. He did this step by step. And then from that point, he then was later able to get his record expunged. Fortunately, the reporter from the Tribune was able to access some of these records. And that's why we have documentation to show that he did have this felony conviction, and we have the details of the charges. And the really sad thing with this is he tends to use the same pattern of behavior with this victim, with other victims, with Tommy, and that he buys them excessive amounts of alcohol, hard alcohol, liquor. And then when he gets them highly intoxicated, he then either tries to molest them or molests them.
Mhm.
In this particular case that we were talking about, he gave these 13-year-olds an alcohol called Everclear.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's almost 100% alcohol. I hear it's illegal in California now to even sell it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these are just young kids. And I'm not going to go into the details of his abuse, but he pleaded guilty to the charges. But at the same time, he was blaming the victim. And this is in the paperwork from the probation officer's report, saying the victim lied about his age, and that the victim said it happened 30 to 40 times, and David Knight says it only happened once.
Can I interject here?
Go ahead.
Okay, the reason he was able to do that is that the families moved out of the area once the conviction happened.
Mm.
And after all this, they went through, they said, we are moving out of this area. That's it. So he was able to take advantage of the fact that they couldn't find these people. And he systematically worked at getting everything to go from a felony to a misdemeanor to playing on the heartstrings of the justice system and having it expunged.
And
We
this all
have
he.
evidence.
I'm sorry. He got this all erased. Did he get this erased before he met Tom?
And expungement is not an erasement.
Well-
You're still able to find these things,
Okay.
by the way. And especially if somebody is convicted of this, is suspected of the same kind of behavior.
What was your question, Matt?
Oh, I was just curious that when around the time that Tommy met him, did he try to get his name cleaned up before he met Thomas? Do you guys know?
He had his name cleaned up, as you say, for probably, let's see, this happened 2019, about 13 years.
It was
Wow.
2000. It would happen between 2006, 2007 that he was able to get all this done piece by piece.
Wow. This is crazy how the system now, before we go further, how the system is just broken. Like you could let this guy, a predator. I can't call him a guy, and the word cleanup. I forgive me, and that's not even the right word, and I'm lost for words. I don't even know what the right word to say. A predator that goes out there, has actions, ruins other people's lives, and these other people have to live with it. Now those kids, underage boys, which are men now, probably have family. It's always in the back of their head what this man did to him, and this guy can go and, let's use the term, clean up the name and make it look like I'm okay now. I don't understand that.
Right. I don't either. We don't understand it either.
It's just
What makes this really sad is that by doing that, they empowered him to believe that he could get away with this. So he continued to do these things. So we have other cases, some who have made some reports with the police that he molested them when they were kids years ago as well. Some people don't want to go to the police. Some people are afraid of him. Some people talk to us, but it's a sex crime and people are hesitant to go public with that kind of situation. And he takes advantage of knowing this. And unfortunately, had he been on the sex register, maybe people would have been more aware of it in town, and he wouldn't have been able to get away with what he's gotten away with. And as a result, Tommy could be alive today because maybe he wouldn't have felt so empowered.
Exactly. And just to add one more insult to injury, his lawyer, Laura Hemphill from Santa Barbara, California, it's Hemphill and Mutz, is the
Current lawyers.
is the law firm. They sent us a letter after this article came out, and they said that we would never be able to use this information in court. Well, this does describe his motive with our son, and his behavior that we have in the bar video shows him being lewd with our son and groping him and doing some other things. And the bartenders, since we've been on your show, we've had depositions now, and the bartender said that he was saying lewd things to our son, and our son was shocked. Bill will tell you a little bit more about it.
Mm-hmm.
I have a hard time talking.
Yeah, and Bill and Mary Jane, respectfully, if you need to take a moment to talk or get a glass of water, don't worry. You do that. You just don't worry, and there's no rules here. Okay, this is all, my show's always from the heart, just to let you know. And just if you need to take a break, the audience is going to understand. Whoever's watching this is going to understand. The goal right now, everybody that is watching this, and I'm going to let you guys all know, if you know anything out there, and if you're watching this tonight or next week, or you just watched us earlier and you're still thinking about this in your head and you know something, it's like, just do the right thing and help them out. Because your answer might put away somebody who can hurt somebody else again and damage them. So on that note, it's very important. Watch this show, listen to what Bill and Mary Jane are saying, and then think about it and then sleep on it. And if you know something, please reach out. We'll put all the numbers in the description, and there'll be a link to click on. There'll be a number, and your name won't be out there. It'll be just all on
That's
there.
right. And I want to
Okay.
thank you for that. Last time we were on your show, it was tremendously helpful. We started getting people that would call us.
Mm.
And I just want to emphasize that even the tiniest little bit of information, you think it's not significant, it is. And it just helps us. And you're right, your anonymity will be respected.
Yeah, this is important. I mean, anybody out there that has children and can understand this, please, if there's somebody that's the same age as Thomas and somebody that knew him, or somebody that knows somebody that knew him or knows something that they're afraid to say, please come forward and help us. That's all we can ask. Okay.
We,
Go ahead, Bill. I'm sorry.
we have situations here in town where there's people that know him, and some of them are very supportive of us and have tried to help us if they knew anything. Where there's other people that feel like he should almost be given a pass
Mm.
because he's a local, or
Mm.
they went to high school with him, or he, in some cases, is related. And some of his family is very supportive of us, and some of his family is very supportive of him. And I say to these people, where do you ever draw the line? I mean, child abuse is a terrible, terrible thing, and nobody should ever be given a free pass. Secondly, our son died.
Yes.
I mean, somebody died here after being in his company, where he intentionally got Tommy polluted, spending $100 on a bar bill. And we see him in the Frog and Peach video switching drinks with Tommy.
Mhm.
He buys them he buys a round of tequila. That's their last drink of the night. And he switches drinks with him without Tommy noticing. And he's constantly encouraging Tommy to drink. These guys in the video picture here, something happens here. Tommy actually is not happy in that picture right there. He's a little upset because Knight had just reached over and pulled his head down by the bill of his cap towards Knight's lap. As you can see, they're facing each other.
Mhm.
Tommy sat up abruptly, took his hat off, then says something to Knight. Then these guys, you can see, turn and looking at him, and the guy on the other side of them also turned and looked at them. This
Yes.
man here, we've been trying to identify these people. It was, September 14th, 2019 at around 8:45 or so at the Frog and Peach Bar. We'd like to know what they heard. What was the conversation going on there? Why did they turn their heads and watch them for a little while?
So there was a little
Inappropriate behavior.
2 times that David Knight pulled Tommy's hat down towards his crotch. And Tommy had taken his hat off, and he was talking to him. He goes, no, at this, and then put the hat back on, and David Knight did it again. So then Tommy turned the hat around backwards, so he couldn't do that. And at this point, Tommy's blood alcohol level was a 0.38.
0.38, you said?
0.38. And this is called alcohol overdose. And that happens when somebody drinks too much too fast. He had gotten to that level in 1 hour. So that tells you how many drinks Thomas must have had.
Mm.
And later, when he's talking to police, he said he had a high tolerance for alcohol. That was one thing he said. And then when he was signing the bar bill after the bartender brought him the bill. He said, he's such a lightweight, so disrespectfully. And, Thomas, by the point, by the time they were at that point, I saw Thomas look towards the door a few times. He was planning his escape. And when he walked out the door, he walked the opposite direction of David Knight's car and did not want to go in his car. And there were a little series of events that happened. But he also told us that he didn't know Tommy had an alcohol problem. And there were some things that he said to the police that make us know that he knew this. And went into that bar knowing that Tommy had an alcohol problem. He was a young kid, and alcoholism runs in the families. And he was the one that got the card.
Do me a favor, Bill, Mary Jane. Come a little closer and then center yourself. So right there, and you guys are together. This way, the camera, and we could see you guys. That's good, like that. And I want to go back a little bit for the people. Yeah, and you guys hold each other because you guys are a beautiful couple. And
Thank you.
you know what?
It's been such a hard road. Oh my gosh.
It's an awful. If you need, like I said, if you need a moment, it's okay. It's okay. Okay. If you need a moment, I could put you backstage. You just put your finger up, Steph, and give me a moment. We'll put you backstage. All righty.
Okay.
All righty. Just let's try to keep you centered in the screen so that people could see you. And when they're looking at your eyes, there's somebody, whoever's watching this, and you could see what they're going through up here, the pain in the heart. And if you have a heart, please step forward. Okay. It's all I can ask for. All righty. They're telling their story. Tell your story. That's what we can ask for today. Okay. If you're watching this at night, please, they're telling your story. You're listening to their story. So tell us your story. Help them. Your story will help them. Now, that night, the last time you saw Thomas, and I know, Bill, we talked about last time. Do you mind, just the audience that have not seen the last episode, can you refresh their memory the last time you saw Thomas?
I was up in the cactus garden, puttering around. It's still there, his cactus stand. In fact, a couple people are going to come by tomorrow, buy a couple cactus. There's not near as many as there were because we've sold so many. And we did a big fundraiser for Big Brothers Big Sisters after he passed away, raised like $6,000 in his name. But we still have a lot of his cactus up there. So I was puttering around up there, and this car pulls up and parks to the top of my driveway. I'm only like 15 feet away, and he gets on his cell phone. So I'm like, maybe this is one of Tommy's cactus customers. So I walked up to the car and I said, "Can I help you?" And he kind of curtly says to me, "I'm looking for Thomas." I'm like, "All right." I said, "Well, sometimes he doesn't answer his phone. Let me go down and see if I can find him for you." So I went down and got Tommy, and he was downstairs near the garage in his bedroom area. And he was already on the phone, and he gets off the phone. I said, "Tommy, there's some guy up there looking for you." And he said, "Dad, that's the guy I was telling you about. He's the one that's going to help me market my art. We're going to go look at some artwork today." He was pretty excited about it, that some older person was taking an interest in him, and he just kind of felt like life was going his way, and he was a very talented artist. Tommy was. Yeah. So he said,
David Knight had no art background.
No, he did not have any art background, even though he may have led Tommy to believe that he did.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, he said, "I'll tell him I'll be up in a few minutes," because he wasn't really dressed. He wasn't really expecting to go with him that day. Mm-hmm. It was kind of a tentative plan, but he was really hoping to get together with this girl that he liked that day, and that kind of sort of didn't work out. So I go up there and told Knight that Tommy would be up in a few minutes. And then, lo and behold, Tommy comes walking up a few minutes later and walks up to the car. The guy gets out of his car, says, "Oh, by the way, are you Tommy's dad?" And I said, "Yes." He goes, "I'm David Knight." And I said, "Nice to meet you." And I said to Tommy, "We'll see you a little later." Thinking he'd be back in a couple hours. They were supposed to go to Cal Poly, apparently, and look at the architectural boneyard. Mm-hmm. And, which is a bunch of architectural stuff, that the students make. But it was Wild Weekend. They couldn't see it. So instead of just bringing him home, like this acquaintance of Tommy, who only didn't really know him very well at all. But if you would looked at their text messages, you would thinking they were best friends. You know what I mean? With
Mm-hmm.
him calling him buddy and pal, and when are we going to get together? And I really love your art. And he's texting pictures of famous artists that he supposedly owns to Tommy, but I don't see how he could because he doesn't have any money, you know. And just kind of doing that whole predatory suck 'em in thing, you know. And so that was it. You know, Tommy got in the car and drove away, and that was the last time I ever saw him. I I can tell this story without crying anymore. You know, it's been a little over a year and a half, which in some ways seems like a long time, and in other ways doesn't seem very long ago.
Yeah.
So, you know, apparently they went to Montana de Oro, which is where David Knight has been known to take some of his other victims, according to what we've seen in police reports and people have told us. And then he took him downtown San Luis Obispo and says Tommy wanted to get some coffee, and they went to Cruiseburg Coffee, but there was a comedy show going on, and Knight didn't want to pay the $10 cover charge. And Tommy didn't have any money because he had given us his disability checks to pay for that brand new, 2001 pickup truck he just bought. Never turned the key on, never even got to drive it or start it. He was saving up his money for insurance and registration. And so Knight takes him to the Frog and Beach instead. And his bar bill on his credit card was $100.
$100.
$100, not including the $12 tip.
And that was David Allen's Knight's
on his bar bill. He spent $100, and those drinks there average about $8 each.
I was going to say maybe $10, around $10. You know, $8 to $10. You know,
I priced it out. I guess the Patron, the last drink that he bought, that he ended up switching with Tommy. So Tommy had 2 shots of tequila. Those were $12. He had bought him rum, gin.
He was mixing.
It was the whiskey.
So he was mixing. He was
mixing.
And if you look at Tommy right here, he was a skinny frame. He wasn't and he was, a person in his body weight can't handle that.
He was 5'7", 135 pounds.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And the bartenders thought there was something strange going on here. They were kind of keeping an eye on him and thinking Knight was pretty creepy and wondering why this old guy was with Tommy buying him all those drinks. You know, they thought, are these guys related? But they didn't seem to act related. So,
yeah. And if you look right there, I see the shot. I see the glasses. That's a glass for like a tequila you'd put in that.
Yeah, that was the tequila, the last one.
Yeah.
Tommy drank both of those.
Yeah.
And they were probably heavy pours. You know?
Now, if you look at the expression on these guys, first they're looking straight and then towards the right by the logo, the guy with the beer, you see them both. They're like,
yeah, they both after that episode with the pulling down the hat, by the bill twice, and then Tommy's reaction, and then somewhere along the line there, the bartender said Knight was asking Tommy if he knew what a butt pirate was. I mean, really?
Really, yeah.
And Tommy didn't react too well with that either.
No,
so, no. And that's when those other 2 people turned around and looked, told him this joke, and my son looked at him. And he said it was a butt pirate. And my son said, what the hell is that?
And then Knight's explaining it.
And then these people turned around and looked. So that's why we really need to hear these witnesses, what they heard. And they were all kind of shocked.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sorry, Bill, come in the center next to Mary Jane. And I want to talk about the night leading to the event of Thomas's death. And it's too much for Mary Jane. It's Mary, you could just sit back or go walk for a second, because I don't want her to but so that point at the bar, because I know the story, of course you guys know, but some people out here don't know the story. What happened? They leave the bar together, and then let's go from the bar to the structure. Can you tell us the story again?
Yeah, we can, because this is where we start having witnesses.
Okay.
As to what happened. They had, like Mary Jane said, Tommy did not want to go across the street where the car was parked in front of Mother's Tavern there. Instead, he turns up towards Ross, which is one of Tommy's favorite stores. And but Knight says in the depositions we had, he wouldn't let Tommy go into Ross. And Tommy, at this point, was trying to get away with him, and we have a witness. Get away from him. At this point, we have a witness that was watching the two of them. She was shopping with friends, and her other friends went ahead and went into Ross. But she thought something didn't look right with these two, so she stayed out in front of the store and watched them, and watches Tommy running away from Knight. But then Tommy, as he gets to the other side of the street, he falls flat on his face on Higuera, hits his head, and gets knocked out. She calls 911. Knight never called 911.
Mm-hmm.
If there was ever a time for Knight to step up to the plate and be a responsible adult who really cared about Tommy's well-being,
that was the time.
That was the time.
And let me interrupt you right here. In this photograph, he didn't call 911, Knight, but Knight has his phone right next to his elbow, if I notice. You see the right there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, that's right. And on top of that, what you don't see is how many times his phone would go on all of a sudden, and he was texting somebody back and forth.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
we're in the process of getting those phone records. So
He's been fighting us tooth and nail on that.
To not give us the phone records, and we're going to see who he was texting and what he was saying.
Yeah, because the phone was at his hip. He wasn't,
Yes,
you know.
He was at his fingertips.
He was on it off and on while they were in that bar. And we only saw about 20 minutes of that video, not the whole hour or so that was there. So anyway, Tommy passes out. Knight's trying to apparently get him to get up, worried that they're going to get in trouble. This is what we see from the police interview that we just recently got. He was more concerned about getting in trouble than Tommy's well-being. Tommy finally comes to, and Knight brings him over to a bench. In the meantime, that lady called the 911 operator and is saying this young man was passed out. And they're asking her questions, saying things to her like, well, does he look like a transient?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't get it all. There's just so many things that are wrong here. Why, first of all, if somebody gets knocked out, would you waste time asking if somebody looks like a transient when you should be calling an ambulance? Instead, she doesn't call an ambulance. She calls a police officer to go look. But by the time they meandered around there, Tommy was already up and gone. All right. And then
what's important about this first witness that called 911 is that she followed Knight and Tommy from the time they walked out of the bar and and her story does not jive with what David Knight said at the police station. And she, said that she watched them. Tommy was really walking very crooked, looked like he could barely stand up. Knight said that Tommy got into a fight with somebody. He obviously did have some kind of a little encounter. Wasn't an altercation. It was an encounter with this guy. They did look like they were angry with each other. Tommy had said something, but I think Tommy was looking for help. He wanted somebody to help him get out of the situation. He did not want to go to David Knight's car. He'd already been propositioned at the bar.
Yeah.
And Tommy was trying to get away. And so this girl watched him. Then they pulled away from each other. And Tommy was walking towards the Ross store when David Knight said, no, you're not going in there. Then Thomas walked across the street at that point. That's when he fell. And this girl watched for about 13 minutes, watched this whole thing. And then she called 911 when Thomas fell because he did not get up. She was worried. And she was trying to explain to the 911 operator what happened. And the 911 operator was saying, well, what does he look like? I'm sorry, we have been in the medical field forever. The first thing you want to know is where is your location? Is he breathing? That type of thing, And, well, does he look like a transient? And it was very flippant that night. And we had several 911 calls. That's the question they asked, one after another. That really upsets me with the happiest place in America.
The transients, if you're a young transient or any transient, do their lives not count?
Yeah, exactly.
Does it matter?
And it goes back to the system. Now when Tommy was going towards the parking structure, did they take two separate cars or did they were in the same car?
They were in the Thomas had that elbow surgery, so he couldn't even start a car. That's how
So
bad
so was
his arm
so
was.
It was
so
in a
my
break.
so was David Knight's car in the parking structure too?
No, it wasn't. That's why Thomas was going away from there.
So he was
And Thomas was at a 0.38 alcohol level. He was not capable of making decisions. He was just looking for a place to hide.
to hide. So that's what he
Yeah.
was doing. The parking structure maybe be like a maze, and he could hide there from this guy, right? That's what I'm guessing here from this.
His car was parked across the street from the Frog and Peach in front of Mother's Castle.
Okay,
That's where
and
Knight's car was.
okay, so did anybody see them struggle outside? Did the girl? Did they say? Did they have a struggle outside? Thomas and David.
Well, I think people didn't realize that this older guy was with Thomas and that he would walk a little distance from him and pretend that he wasn't involved in the situation. Just as you see him at the crime scene, acting like he wasn't part of this whole situation, when he was actually the cause of the whole thing. He's a very manipulative man. People that know him call him a narcissistic,
Yeah.
manipulative liar.
Now, here's a clincher to the story for everybody watching here, and I remember this, and this to me always stuck in my head. Okay, Thomas's cell phone. While this was
Yeah.
going on, and I'll let you guys take it, but come a little closer into the screen so we could see you guys too. Okay, you guys, all
Okay.
right, and
So
try to speak into the computer, but Thomas's cell phone, and I'll let you
Thomas-
take it from there.
Okay, so Thomas fell. That lady called 911. Thomas got up and then he started walking away. He wanted to get away from David Knight. He went on sat on this bench, and the second the lady on 911 said, "Well, is he a transient?" Yeah, and he just walked away. So click, that's it. They never sent anybody to the area. The next person that saw Thomas, he went to sit on a bench, and David Knight was sitting there with him, and the lady said that he kept putting the hat on Thomas's head, and he was freaking out. Well, you could imagine after the thing that he did in the bar and his little proposition, Tommy was freaked out. So then, this lady, Tommy said something crass to her daughter, and she turned around to look, and this has already been deposed in court, so this is
Mhm.
all fact. She looked over at Thomas and she said, "Oh my God," she said, "he looked at me and I knew he was in trouble." But they did walk away. They went on their way to where they were going. Then Thomas fell again, and at this point, Knight put Thomas's hat on his head. Tom took off, and he picked up Thomas's phone and put it in his own back pocket. So Thomas didn't even have a phone to call for help. So then Thomas is seen running through the little shopping area by Starbucks by this young lady who was sitting there, and she heard Thomas fall. She saw him fall. He got up and he said, "Help me, someone's after me." She was only 17. She didn't really know what to do. And so, she just saw Thomas walk away, and then he walked towards the parking structure. Thomas walks into the parking structure at the staircase, and he's trying to get his boundaries, and he's counting the stairs as he's going up. We had somebody contact us through the website. He was saying 150, 200, 250, and they were right in front of him, and they said that Thomas looked very intoxicated. And then Thomas grabbed the girl's leg. He was trying to reach for help. And at this point, the alcohol is really building up in his system from moving around so much. And he's at that 0.38 level, and he can't talk anymore, and he couldn't say anything. So these people got scared, and they ran upstairs, went to their car, and left. Then Thomas makes it, I guess, to the fourth floor, and he can't even walk past the little alcove where the stairs and elevator are. And these people see him. And at this point, he's bloody, he's dirty. And so this young lady calls 911. And so she's telling him what's going on. And she says he's bloody. And they should have sent an ambulance immediately. And she's trying to describe what's going on. And then that 911 operator says, "Well, is he a transient?" Again. And so they didn't send anybody. And so these people, she decided in her head, I guess this isn't important. It's a transient. This has got to stop.
One of the
But
things,
she walked away to her car. She was on the phone for about another minute. And Thomas walked down the stairs at this point and met, we want to know if other people saw him come back down the stairs. And somehow he probably went down to the third floor. We do have some people that are going to be,
deposed as witnesses.
yes, that we can't really talk about right now.
One of the sad things about when he was on the fourth floor is he was barely able to stand up, and his eyes kept rolling back in his head. The girl said, our lawyer asked her, well, what was he doing? Was he behaving aggressively? Did he seem sad or depressed? She said, no, he just seemed completely out of it. And the lawyer said, well, what color were his eyes? Just trying to see how much, she viewed. She says, I don't know, because his eyes kept rolling back in his head. It's like, why didn't she stay with him?
That report that I got from Duke University, which describes the alcohol overdose, says that when their eyes start rolling back into their head, it's almost certain that there could be imminent death. So he was almost on the verge of going into a coma. And so, the judge just wanted to know why she felt like they were afraid of Tommy. And she said, well, just because he was intoxicated, but he was not aggressive towards them or anything else. And, they walked back to their car, and then they didn't see Thomas after that. I wish somebody had stayed there and waited for an ambulance to come.
Now the cell phone, Bill and Mary, the cell phone. Now the cell phone it was in the structure after Thomas fell from the structure, which this is September 14th, 2019, everybody, San Luis Obispo. These are photographs of Thomas after he fell from the structure, correct?
What you're looking at right now are pictures of some of the witnesses where Tommy fell that we're trying to identify, because as you can see, this man's pointing up towards the parking structure. So he may have describing what happened. He may have seen something up there. And so we would like to talk to him. Unfortunately, all the people you see standing around there, the police did not get any of their names or phone numbers.
So another situation of the law enforcement not doing their job properly. Now, at this point, before Thomas, around the time when he fell, the phone, Thomas's phone, it wasn't on him, but the phone was at the structure, then left. What's the story with that?
He had lost it almost 10 or 12 minutes before, and David Knight had picked it up after he tried putting the hat on his head, and Thomas kept walking. And so at this point, we know that he was following him because the phone shows exactly where David Knight was.
The GPS map shows the phone at the structure?
Going to that parking structure. Unfortunately, it's a satellite image, so it doesn't show him in the parking structure, but it was there. And during all of this time, because there's so much concrete and steel, it really couldn't be seen. But at about the time that Thomas fell, you can see the phone running away from the parking structure.
Back past Starbucks in the movie theater, going back to Higuera. He circles around down to Choro. Then he walks down Choro, where then he puts his hand up to stop the traffic. This is not him. This is another witness that we would like to get a hold of. He puts his hand up to stop the traffic and walks up to the police and say,
from a long distance, he says, I know him. And
that's David Knight right there.
Yeah, and the policeman, and then he walks up to him, is he breathing? And the officer says, excuse me, and he goes, I know him. And I don't want to go on the record that I know him, but I know him.
So he refused to give his name.
And then the officer says, okay, what's his name? And they made him pull over, and he kept asking, is he breathing? Is he breathing? And the officer says, what? And he says, so he tells him his name, and he goes, did he get hit by a car? And the policeman says, no, he fell from the parking structure. He goes, no, I think he got hit by a car. He's offering a different story.
That's okay. So that and that picture of David Allen Knight right there, is that after Thomas had fallen, or is that?
Yeah, that's what after he identified Thomas and refused to give his name, the officer asked him to step aside. Okay, so he goes and he stands there for the next 10 minutes watching, leaning against that pole.
Yeah.
And you look at him, he's just kind of kicking back watching. And
Yeah.
witnesses that have come to us said everybody at the scene was very upset, as you could imagine.
Yeah.
And he's so calm.
There's the
calm.
witnesses at the scene
He's
right here, right?
voyeuristic. He's calm and he's voyeuristic.
These other people tried to be helpful to Thomas. They're calling the police. They're talking to each other. They're kind of stressed out, but he's sitting there hanging out just watching with his friggin' thumbs hooked in his friggin' tie.
So here he is. The police ask him if he knows him. He's not clear with them.
No,
But then a
he's-
few minutes before, he's at the bar doing tequila shots right here.
Right.
And then there he is at the aftermath.
Right.
Yeah.
This
No,
is
the
crazy.
police
This is
did
crazy.
not the police did not ask him if he knew him. He came to the police and said, "I know him." And then they asked him, "What's his name?" And he says, "Thomas Jodry." And then he goes, "Well, how do you spell that?" And he starts spelling it, and then just looks at his phone, and in a second he says Jodry, and the police officer just told him to stand over, and he said, "You don't want to give your name?" And he goes, "No, I don't want to go on record."
So
I
here-
know him.
So let me click on some of these pictures of the night while Thomas is in the street right there. So you got David Allen Knight right here, leaning casual, right? And look at him, just leaning casual. Then you have the witnesses right here, pointing, describing what went on Marsh Street. The guy has his hands in the air, so he's pointing the structure. It looks like to
This
me.
gentleman was one of the first guys on the scene, and he was seen kneeling beside our son. We would like to talk to you. We know you saw something, and we also would like to thank you for staying with our son.
So he stayed with him. Okay. And then you have right here this.
She was kneeling with Tommy as well.
She was a very kind lady, and she stayed with me. And she was so worried, and she offered to give the police a report. And when they asked her if she saw something, she said, "No, but I heard." And they said, "That's it. But we don't need anything." And they just let her walk away. They didn't get her name or phone number. And she was with her husband. You probably have a picture of him in this group of pictures.
Yeah, I have a
But we
couple
would
of pictures
also
here.
like-
And then how about this photograph here?
This man came across the street describing the Thomas falling from the parking structure, and he was very distressed. And he kept,
He was there for a while.
he was there for a while. I think that he wanted the police to talk to him, and we need to speak with this gentleman too.
And then we have right here.
He was also at the scene, and I saw him on his phone. He may have taken pictures,
He was,
no,
he did, I don't think he
something.
took pictures. I think he was on the phone with 911.
possibly, yeah.
And then we got this picture here.
And I believe this is the husband to that very nice lady, and the two of them were very caring. Yes, I think they were a couple. And even the store that's right behind that picture, the people working in the store all came to their display window, and they were looking out at one point and watching what happened, and they all came outside. One of the people heard Knight telling people that, he was probably hit by a car. People were saying, I don't see a car here, So Knight kept on and on with that story. And that's the story he told us when he came to our house, even though he knew far more about what happened.
So getting back to the phone, when Knight decides to leave that spot there, we see him because we've now seen the police body cams and police car cam videos. That's where these pictures are from. Well, we see Knight walking away from the scene, and as he's walking across the street, he pats both of his back pockets.
Mm-hmm.
And so what he's doing is he's checking to see if he still has Tommy's phone on him, and his wallet probably, or his own phone. But he later denies remembering that he had Tommy's phone, right? But he checks at that point. He knows he has Tommy's phone. He walks a half a block away down the street. He gets on his phone and he texts Tommy. He says, "Tommy, where are you?" Do you believe this? This is something we didn't say in the last
What do you think about
interview.
that?
This is
He
crazy.
texts him. He's got his phone in his
Yes.
pocket.
It is
He
crazy.
just identifies him, walks a half block away, gets on his phone with his little thumbs there. Tommy, where are you? Like, I need to set up an alibi for myself, like I don't know where Tommy is. Not knowing that Tommy's got a tracking device and we can follow it everywhere, not knowing he's all over the police body cams and police car cams. It's so pathetically sad.
It's very sad. You have everything that's telling you what's going on here, and the police, they're not asking the questions. They're supposed to there to serve and help, and you're not getting the help you need.
They're not asking the questions, but when we were called in on Monday morning,
Okay.
The Monday
And-
after Tommy died.
he died Saturday night, and I hadn't slept since Friday night, as you could imagine. And they called us in, and I felt like we were being interrogated. And, they wanted to know how we knew to get there. We told them the story, and I gave them all the help that I could. I even brought Thomas's cell phone with me. I told, please look at the cell phone and do all this stuff. And, the officer, the detective said that he was going to go get all the videos from downtown and the parking structure, and so I thought that he was going to do that, and then he said something about later in the week, and I said, well, I'm sorry. I said, I have to plan my son's funeral this week, and I cannot come back here this week. I said, I could barely make it here today.
Yeah.
And then he interrogated my brother and also my husband, because my brother drove us to the hospital. And he was a witness to David Knight being there.
Now,
Yeah.
not to everybody, please see what Debbie just did. She shared this on her Facebook. Everybody out there that's watching this, if you know somebody in San Luis County, Obispo County, and if you're watching, please share this video out there. Right below, I put justiceforthomas.com. There's a link. You can contact the family. We could get some answers. There has to be something. I'm going to keep addressing this. If you're watching, you're listening, you're seeing a family on the screen with a broken heart, there's not, it's not resolved. There's no closure. Nothing's going to bring back their son. But the one thing that you can do out there and help them is put this person away. And
Yes. And don't just share it in San Luis Obispo County, because what happened was that was the week of welcome. All the college students were in town. Many people that were witnesses were actually from out of the area, but California people. The lady from that we talked about earlier was from San Francisco. The other one was from Visalia. So anybody in California, just share it, because
just share it out there. Reverend Jenny's from New York. Share it.
Yeah, because a lot of the witnesses were not locals. Some of them were from North County, Paso Robles. Others were from Tahoe. I mean, people that have come to us have been from all over the state.
That's what we need to do that. And you see Reverend Jenny, she just said we need to share this all over. Thank you, Reverend Jenny, for that.
Thank you, Jenny.
Very kind of you. Because you guys do a lot of interviews about this, and you're doing all over and the same questions. But the message today is, you could look on the site, you could find the story right on Justice for Thomas, right down there. But today really is about getting this message out there, getting heard. And this is Robbie Detroit. Thank you, my man, for sharing that out there. I want everybody who's in the comments, please let's know that you're sharing this out there and keep on sharing it. Just you're hearing a part of this and it's touching your heart. They're living with it, and it's breaking their heart. So please.
It's 20 months today, by the way.
What is that, Mary Jane?
Today makes 20 months.
20 months.
Of this horrible tragedy. Yes.
20 months of this. Cooking with the Kid in Florida. That's our past. I'll be praying for your family and Justice for Thomas. Please share this out, Cooking with the Kid, as well. So now, and then the crazy thing is, he texts David Knight. He texts Tommy. He has the phone. And then he goes to your house with this crazy story.
Well, he follows the ambulance to the hospital.
Okay. This is where I wasn't clear. So let's take me from this point now. Okay.
So he follows him to the hospital. We didn't know this until we found the tracking thing that Tommy had on his phone. It's called a Google timeline, and you can get this app from Google.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, he followed him to the hospital and then drives to our house because I'm sure that they wouldn't give him any information in there, and he didn't want to be obvious. So he comes to our house, and we had just gotten home from a concert a few minutes before. My husband was worried. He kept calling Tommy's phone, He made about 25 calls to Tommy's phone. David Knight turned off the phone, probably became a little on nerve, drove to our house, and showed up at the door. You tell him the rest, Phil.
And then come in.
Well-
If you try to move a little closer in the screen. I'm sorry, Bill, to keep doing that
No,
to you
that's
guys.
okay. You can
Okay.
just keep telling us that. We're slower, don't you know?
Yeah.
So, like Mary Jane said, we'd come home from the concert over at the park. It was probably around 9:20. And Tommy wasn't home, and Tommy was always home in the evening. Number one, he didn't really have any money because he was on disability, and he'd given Mary Jane.
Hold on, everybody. They just lost a little service over there, but they'll be. I'll bring them back in here. Let's just we'll get them back in here 1 second. Okay, you guys here with us?
Yeah, we are. We're kind of the computer did a no.
No, that's okay. I got your voice, so you could continue with the story if you like, and then
Okay,
hopefully we can
I
get your
will.
picture up here.
Maybe if we get back on the page, you can let us back in again.
Yeah. I got your voice, so.
All right, you can probably go to the details. So David and I came to the door. Like I was saying, Tommy was always home at night, you know, between his messed up arm and having no money, and giving my wife his disability checks for that old truck he had just bought so he can expand his cactus tails and have some wheels. And that was the first vehicle he ever bought himself. Night comes to the door. I answer the door. I'm already kind of freaking out because Tommy's been gone so long, and I didn't know this guy, and now I'm worried because he's not answering my phone calls or my texts.
Bill felt uncomfortable with him in the first place
because he was kind of rude, you know.
He looked like he wanted to discard Bill, you know.
You know, it was like I was an annoyance when he first came to the house. So anyway, he says to me, "Do you remember who I am?" I says, "Yeah." I said, "Where's my son? I've been trying to call him." He goes, "Well, I have his cell phone." I said, What are you doing with his cell phone?" And he says, "Well, he must have dropped it. I found it on the ground." All right. I'm like, "Well, where's Tommy?" I says, "Come on in, you know." And he says, "Well, you know, we were at a bar, we've been drinking, and then he took off and I lost it." So I told him to come in and explain what's going on. My wife came out in a robe, and he's telling this story about going to the Frog and Peach and Montana Euro. I think he might have mentioned that at the time, and losing Tommy, and Tommy running away, and Tommy was running so fast he couldn't keep up with him. And this guy's not in bad shape, you know what I mean? So
and he told us that he lost him at 8:00. You know, he told us all these different lies, and then he says, "Oh," and then, you know, I was thinking, "Oh my God, he's been lost for 2.5 hours," because this was about 10:30 at night, and I just wanted to, you know, get dressed, go jump in the car, and look for him. And then he said, and then I saw a whole bunch of police cars, you know, and I thought, you know, he says, and then, you know, I thought I saw someone on the ground that could be Tom. You need to call Sierra Vista Hospital. He told us exactly what hospital. Yeah. My husband didn't register that because he's a registered nurse and he works at that hospital. It's a trauma center. So he just automatically called him. But David Knight told him that. Then Bill called, and I was sitting on the couch with David Knight while Bill was on the phone, trying to ask him questions and try to give Bill some privacy. And David Knight got very gruff with me, gritted his teeth at me and said, "I'm trying to eavesdrop on this conversation." And it scared the living daylights out of me. And I just looked at him and I said, "Oh yeah, me too." So we sat there and listened, and then Bill said, "But he's going to be all right, right?" And they told Bill that he died, and then Bill said, "He didn't make it." And I just started wailing and crying on the couch, and Bill came in to where I was, and we both were wailing. And I looked up at David Knight, and he was just sitting there, no expression on his face. And then he decides to do a dramatic thing, and he starts rocking back and forth with his hands behind his head, saying, "How could Thomas do this to me? How could?" But he didn't even do that until I looked at him.
He kept doing it over and over again. How
And
could
then
Tom
Bill-
rocking back and forth? How could Thomas have done this to me? How could Thomas have done this to me? How could
Turning
Thomas have
himself
done this to
into
me?
the victim.
I mean, I'm like, hold on, my son just died. And I mean, it was enough to take you from being in a sobbing state to almost putting you in shock.
Mhm.
You know, like, who is this guy and what is going on here? How could he be saying this?
Mm.
So I asked him,
So-
I said, maybe you should leave now
So
and
I
come
took-
back tomorrow.
I went to the phone. I knew something was rotten, and I went to the phone. We had been at the concert. A friend of mine had a half a bottle of wine she wanted to drink before we left the concert, so I had an extra glass of wine.
Mhm.
And I went to call my brother to come and take us to the hospital. And I went into another room. I told my brother, I said, "Glenn, get here as fast as you can. The worst thing that ever has happened in our lives has happened. And I need you here immediately." I didn't want to tell him exactly what happened because my brother had just had a heart attack 2 months before.
Mhm.
But my brother lives 2 blocks from here, and he was here within a couple of minutes, and David Knight was still here. And my brother walked in the door. He heard us screaming and crying. And he looked at David Knight, and he was just looking at him, and my brother's looking at him up and down. He goes, "What's happening here?" And David Knight looked at him and said, "He's dead." And my brother was shocked. And he's looking, and he hears us crying. And he goes, "What's happening here?" He asked David Knight again. He goes, "He's dead." And then Bill said, "I told you to leave. You can come back tomorrow and talk to us, tell us the rest of the story."
Oh,
And
my
so
goodness.
he went running. He ran to his car. He ran fast. My brother watched him as he ran down the stairs and down our crooked path. And he was not intoxicated at all, driving towards his car because he was switching the drinks with Tommy. And you could see
Mhm.
him in the bar, never drinking himself, but he would, as soon as Tommy was finished drinking, he'd switch the drinks on him. And he never took a sip of the drinks.
And he tells the police that he himself only had 3 drinks. So on that $100 bill, 3 drinks of them was his. You
That's
can
what he
imagine
said.
how many of the drinks would have been Tom's.
Yeah.
That he kept buying.
Which the cops could sense if he was, his alcohol intake by talking to him. They could see if this guy was slurring or whatnot. I'm assuming
But he wasn't because he didn't
Mhm.
drink that much.
he was
They did
making
say
he was
Tommy-
making Thomas drink all the drinks basically.
Right, because he wanted to have control over him, so he needed to stay more sober.
Mhm. He knew what he was doing. The guy
Well,
knew what he
yeah.
was doing. He was setting him up.
Right, and the people that we talked to from his prior arrest and one other person all said that he didn't drink himself. He just watched as his victim got more and more intoxicated.
Mhm. Awful.
And he even mentions to my son that he doesn't drink. And, I think he mentioned in the police interview that he doesn't drink.
Oh, he did. Okay,
But
interesting.
then he says, "Oh yeah, but I had about 3 drinks and I didn't want to get arrested for being intoxicated." So he kind of changes his story a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of inconsistencies.
Like
The
whatever
story.
his suits at the time.
Yeah, he's just going with emotions and changing it. He's
Yeah.
mirroring everybody what they want to hear, basically.
Yeah, basically.
So now, where are we today? It's May 14th. With this, where are we at now with this situation now?
We are still in the discovery case phase, getting evidence. Like I said, we subpoenaed his phone records. We've been subpoenaing records from the police department,
Mhm.
wanting to get the videos, wanting to get the video they have from the parking structure. And the video they sent from the parking structure was the wrong time of day. And so we're still going back and forth with that. We have a few different subpoenas that have gone out. And they did, we asked for the 911 calls, and they sent us the calls themselves, but they didn't send us the contact information until just recently. That took about 4 rounds. to get
Mhm.
that.
All of this takes forever and ever and ever
Yeah.
to get any of this stuff. The police weren't real cooperative with giving us anything. We had to get court orders. We needed to get court orders from almost everything.
And there is a new police chief that has just joined the department yesterday. Their department's in a crisis right now. Unfortunately, a very nice young officer was killed on the job a couple of days ago. And,
Yeah.
one of the policemen that helped with this case was shot also. He is going to make it. The other gentleman died. And so we know we're going to have to wait a little while to contact the chief of police and talk to him about some of this stuff.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. You know, and I know that San Luis Obispo, they don't really want stories like this out there because it's all it hurts their business for people coming to visit, I guess, huh? Is that
That
what
is
do you?
exactly it. It's a tourism thing. And
Mhm.
there have been a couple of other cases. Kristen Smart, as you know, disappeared
Yes.
5 years ago. And due to the diligence of her family and then getting the sheriff's department involved, they have finally, and some other very helpful people on their case, they have finally come up with some answers, and the man has been arrested. But there were also a couple of other murders of young women
Hmm.
that went unsolved
Mhm.
until an astute parole officer, actually, or probation officer, noticed this guy had some trophies in his house of these victims. And,
Wow.
it's other people that are solving the cases for them. And
Uh,
then recently there was a big Uber scandal. And
mhm.
Uber has been targeting young women in our county and raping, picking them up from bars and all this stuff. So there's a lot of things going on that really should be taken care of right away and
Yeah.
watched that are just not being watched.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not being watched. And this is the San Luis Obispo, the happiest place
Yes.
to be, right?
Right.
So here we need answers and we need help. And anybody watching, please, right here's the link, justiceforthomas.com. You can go click on there. Why this website? It's going to start out. You're going to read about it. There'll be a contact us if you have any knowledge of what you saw, or you might have heard somebody tell you. You click on that. If you were visiting here from another state, just go click on it. Tell your story to help their story and to end this and to put this guy away. David Allen Knight, right now, as we speak, where is he at these days?
He lives about 1.5 miles down the road from us. He lives in the garage behind his mother's house.
So he lives with his
Lived with
mother.
him with his wife.
So
Yeah.
he's in Atascadero right now, Atascadero,
Yeah.
California. He's living there, walking around. Okay, and
He acts like the victim.
so here we got this guy right here. I'm gonna put his picture up here. We got this guy in the past went after, predated on young boys, went away, came back, then robbed this family from their boy, and now this guy is roaming the streets in Atascadero, California. Or who knows who he's, talking to, or who his next person is. So out
That's
here,
right.
right, out here, basically everybody that's watching here, and I wish Bill and Mary Jane, you could see them and see their face and look at them. But unfortunately, the camera went off. But I'm going to say something really quick, Bill and Mary Jane. Hold on 1 second.
Sure.
Anybody watching right now, please, please, this family right here, they're robbed from their boy, the love of their life, from this man who's out there running in the streets. If you know anything, come forward, justiceforthomas.com. They need your help. We need your help. And you might be able to help somebody else that will need your help in the future. So please help them. Bill and Mary Jane, I want to thank you guys for coming on today.
Thanks for doing this special show for us. We really appreciate it, Stefan.
I want you to come back on here and give us updates to what's going on and anything we could do to help you and your family. This is terrible.
Well, we really do need people to step up, and all the people in the photos, please step up and, tell us your story. I just want you to know, Bill and I have been in the medical community for a long time, and we have stepped in many times with CPR, and we've helped people out, and we would really appreciate it if you'd help us out too. And, and everybody out there, continue to say your prayers for us and hope that we get through this case in a relatively, I don't know what kind of fashion, but just help us get through it.
Just to get through it. Just to get through it. If you were there September 14th, 2019 in San Luis Obispo, what's your name? Go to justiceforthomas.com and let them know that you were there and you might have saw something that could help them out. Bill and Mary Jane, don't go nowhere. Hang out right here. I'm going to roll us out, everybody, with a video for Thomas. But I want to thank you guys in the chat for sharing this. Thank you, Lori Hyde Galassa, for that. Reverend Robbie Detroit, I want to thank you guys. Please share this out. Let's see. Robbie goes, maybe David Allen Knight is tied in with the police department somehow. I don't know. Robbie Detroit. Gypsy That Remains, thank you for your prayers. Reverend Jenny, thank you. Lynn, thank you. Everybody else cooking with the kid. Debbie Muller, thank you all. Bill and Mary Jane, thank you for spending some time with us. Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, hang out right here. 1 second.
All right, you go.
Everybody, please, if there's anything you do know, please help this family out. Click on that link, justiceforthomas.com. They could sure use your help over here. Thank you for watching today. And thank you, the Jodry family, for spending some time and sharing their story, which I know it was hard for you to share.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill and Mary Jane. Thank you, everybody else in the chat. Thank you, and we'll see you later. Please subscribe and share this out. Thank you.